Hi everybody, Russ from My Hammers 11. Hope you're all safe and well. You know what I'm going to say. If you're new channel, please consider subscribing. Yada yada yada. I'm not bothered because I want to move on because I want to interview Trev. As you can see, we've got Trevor Sinclair, which is amazing. You know, what can we say about Trev that hasn't been said? You know, 5 years of the club, over 206 appearances. I think someone mentioned the other day, 38 goals, and more importantly, he says he's one of my 11.
Look. Yay! I'll take that, Russ.
There he is. He's one of my 11. Not just me. 24% of everyone we've interviewed, you've been in their team, man. Which is, you think about, you know, absolutely. It's because you were, for me, you were part of my most exciting time at West Ham as a fan. You know, sort of that Redknapp era and stuff. And but we'll talk about that in a minute. How are you? More importantly, how's everything been in this world we live in now for you?
Yeah, it's been different. Obviously, it's been difficult for everybody. I feel very lucky. You know, I work in the media. My job has not been affected as much as many people's jobs have, and I've also got an academy which was affected, but we started back after lockdown on the 1st of June. I've got responsibility of about 60, 70 players from 16 to about 21. And looking at the way my own sons were dealing with it, it was very difficult for young people to deal with.
Yeah.
So I was really keen to get the academy back up and running. We had groups of 6. We had to hire coaches so we could get the bodies there and get the lads in. But I was pleased to get going. And yeah, life's good. It's been fairly a reasonable transition from being a professional footballer to being a dad and a husband, which is first and foremost anyway. But yeah, I've been lucky more than design. I went to live in Dubai, started coaching because my son's coach was crap. Ended up loving coaching and loving mentoring young people who play in the game, and then fell into a bit of media work, and that's ended up being kind of my bread and butter for my day-to-day work at the moment. So yeah, enjoying it, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do in retirement.
Really?
But I've just fallen into these little niches, and yeah, I feel like I enjoy talking about football. It's something I've took seriously all my life, and obviously I like to give a little bit back, and I feel, you know, coaching is my way of doing that, and it gives me that little fix of coaching every day.
Definitely. No, I can see that. It makes perfect sense. And obviously, as we've spoken just before on air, I obviously listen to you quite avidly when you're on our Mr. White's show.
That's challenging in itself.
Yeah. Good old Jim. And it must be weird. I mean, you know, you must be living the whole life on this computer, on your phone, like talking to people and stuff like that. That's what I miss the most. I mean, I work in London. I went to London for the first time and it was just weird, like weird in the office and seeing everyone. But it was lovely seeing everyone. Although you couldn't hug or touch anyone, you know. But and that must be weird for you guys as well, particularly, you know, obviously with so many boys on, you know, looking after all those 60 odd, you know, boys, like, you know. Just the sort of the banter typically is arm around the shoulder, and you've all got to sort of second guess things, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, it's been the same for everyone, hasn't it? I feel like we're lucky because we're just out of that professional kind of jurisdiction. We I wouldn't say we took liberties, but we've been able to get back into things a lot easier. You know, we've got the protocols for COVID, we've got the hand sanitizers. We take it seriously. But we're in a part of the world where it's not been affected as many as some, especially up north. We're on the coast, and we seem to have kept our R rating quite low. And yeah, we took it seriously. You know, we started off with one of post-passing drills and things like that. But it's that camaraderie, it's that contact with people. You know, it's something that, you know, we've come accustomed to. It's part of being a human. And I've missed that, but just to get the guys back in, it was just phenomenal. Looking at them, seeing how low they were and how happy they were to come back in. You know, it made my job. It's rewarding anyway, but it made it even more rewarding. And actually, it kind of presses home how much responsibility you've got over these young people to try and mentor them. Even if they don't go into football, they'll probably play at a decent level anyway. But just going on and being, you know, a good part of the community, bringing positivity, and hopefully, you know, having a good life through football as well.
Yeah, no, must be. Yeah, must be a privilege, but also a huge responsibility to have all those. I mean, we've spoken to Jack and Zavon, and obviously Zavon's with the under-14s at West Ham, and Jack's got his own. He's obviously Atlanta stuff, and yeah, it's a huge responsibility, particularly in this weird world where we don't know what the fuck's going on, let alone trying to impasse. You're a dad. I mean, I've got an 8-year-old daughter, exactly. and she's taking it in more of a stride than anyone else because she's like, oh well, not going to school. It's okay. I can just watch more YouTube and Roblox, whatever they do. But,
well, I think obviously it affects young people a lot less.
Yeah.
So I feel that invincibility, which we probably all had in our youth, is with them, and that's why they before they came back with us, they were playing in the park together.
Of course,
we can't control that, but obviously because we've got a jurisdiction and we have to get things in place properly, we have to take a little bit more time. But like the sooner we could get them back, the better. But going back to London, I've been to London a few times, and it's strange. I quite like it, because I wear a mask and no one recognises me, so I can go along, I can go about the business quite nicely without getting abuse. And also like getting on the tube when it's empty, and it's rather than like sardines.
I know what you mean.
I used to go in for the 10 o'clock show, so I arrive in Euston around about 8:30, and like is claustrophobic. And when you live on the seaside, like a little village, like living where I do. You really do realise how busy London is, and it's just a ridiculous amount of people gathering together, all going places in a rush, and it's quite nice to get. But it's sad, obviously the economy's struggling and all the rest of it. But just going back to what you said as well, Ross, with regards to COVID, as it was building up, through February, we'd actually take it. I'm a father, I'm a coach. There's responsibilities that go with both of them roles, and we actually took our training down to like a skeleton week and started doing online classroom prior to the government making their things. And I was going into shops with masks on because, I don't know if it's because we had not enough PPE, but I was just like, common sense. If I've got a mask covering my nose and face and a pair of shades on, by the way, and I go into a shop and someone sneezes, it's going to be less likely that I'm going to catch that infection.
Makes sense, yeah.
So we had masks on and things like that prior, not in training, but prior to the government saying that it was going to be useful and it could help stop the transmission. So I don't know. I think sometimes you just got to use your common sense, look after you and your family, and hopefully, as a country, we can get through it. Yeah,
you do. I mean, it's funny you're talking about not being recognised and stuff. I was at the this is totally unrelated, but I was at the Co-op. I was at the Co-op petrol station. That's the life I live. You see, Co-op. You see, none of this shell garage. Co-op. Name dropping. And I'm going to drop a name because Kenny Brown was getting petrol next to me, and he had his mask on. All right, Ken, because I've interviewed him before, and he went, how the fuck do you recognise my face? And I was like, well, because, you just got out the car and then you put your mask on. But it's crazy when that happens. But, but football's back, and, it's great that football was back for that. I think it needed to be back just to improve the morale of the country. And maybe not so much for Watford fans, but for obviously West Ham fans, it's all improved the morale for a while. But, it was good to get back, and I know what you mean. I mean, obviously, I'm fortunate enough to be one of the 300 there. And yeah, I mean, it's not as horrible, but I mean, I get home in 20 minutes. Now I get a car park space in the ground and off I go. Privileged.
Very selfish, that, Russ.
It's very, very selfish. But I mean, to be honest, like, all I do is play music there. I just play the Bubbles music, and I've done it for 20 years, and it's like, fair enough that, do they really need me there? Probably not, but I'm not going to complain because
that's the atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. the atmosphere.
Obviously, we've been doing the Bubbles since I was there and way before. One of the things I couldn't get my head round, and I don't know who this is, who's responsible for this, is Upton Park was always Upton Park. And all of a sudden, when we were making the move to the London Stadium, it became the bowling ground. And I just didn't get my head round that because we'd never, every time we spoke, to teammates, to coaches, to any of the fans, it was always Upton Park. And then all of a sudden, when we were moving it with the bowling ground, I was like, all right, whatever. But
it's one of those weird things where it's a different school of thought, isn't it? It's called. It's always called the actual post was when it was there. The postage address was the bowling ground, Upton Park. So it was a bit of both. But I don't know. I've always called it Upton Park. And there'll be probably people watching this afterwards who'll be commenting, going, "Oh, the reason it was called the bowling ground." But that's West Ham, and everyone's got an opinion. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. But we'll see. And obviously, in a new season starting soon, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
We finished after lockdown. We went into restart. I thought the boys were outstanding. Especially when we really needed the points. Like, obviously, that little bit of desperation there. But Antonio's performances were incredible up front. How bright he was, the way he held the ball up, his movement was so intelligent. His finishing was exquisite, powerful. Clinical.
Oh, we'll have Trev back on in a minute. Trev's dropped out. We'll be back in a minute, Trevor. We'll be back in a minute. We'll get back on in a tick. Don't forget, everyone, we've got all September rather, we've got our game show nights on Thursdays. So make sure you stay in touch for that. Subscribe to the channel so you're made aware of any time we put them in, because it's really, really important that we try and raise as much money as we can for iron supporting food banks. We've got a goal of £20,000. Chev will be back on in a minute. Or is he back in? Oh, no, he's gone. He'll be back in. We've got a thing of £20,000 to win to get by the end of September, and I am confident in the West Ham community pulling together and getting that figure involved, because we need to, basically. I know everyone's losing money and lost jobs and things like that, but there's a lot of people who are worse off than a lot of us. So there he is. He's back in. He's coming back in. He's coming back in. He'll be back in a minute.
Sorry about that. I got a call. I just rejected it, but the screen went off.
That's all right. I can't see. I can't see you though, Trev. So I can't see your camera.
You can't see me now.
No, I've just got a black screen.
Oh wait. Did you not? Could you see me before?
Yeah. Come out and come back in. Come out and come back in, man. I'll get you out. Come back, and it might be all right. We're okay then.
Wait a minute. What about that?
Oh, there we go. Fantastic. It's all right. I was just filling in, Trev, because we're doing some charity work for Iron Supporting Food Banks. So I'll just get the people. Anyway, I can't remember talk about Antonio, man. Yeah.
So, I mean, I got asked a couple of times of West Ham fans, surely Antonio should be in the England squad. And thinking back, listen, if he played the whole season, like the last 5 or 6 games, he'd be in there. So I think more of the same, and I think it's inevitable he will get the opportunity, because I think he does bring something different. His physicality, his movement, the way he scores all different kinds of goals as well. He's good in the air, and he can play different roles. So I think he would be valuable if he can keep up that form in the England squad. Because at the moment, I don't feel we're overly strong in the centre forward position. I think there's a couple of players in there where they're scoring goals, but they're not like the exciting players that maybe we used to have. And I feel like there's definitely an opportunity there coming up for Euros next year. That'd be something that I'd be saying if I was Antonio's coach. That is a carrot there. That's something, a goal that you can achieve. So let's see if you can get there.
Yeah, and you speak from a very valid position, Trevor, doing the same thing in 2002, which we'll come to as well. So we'll come to that. What I like to do, my first question, 13 minutes into the interview, so that's not bad for me this time, is when I interview fans, I always ask them why they're a West Ham fan, what is their origin story. But for the players, I like to ask about how you joined the club, because obviously you came, it was in January, and absolutely, I mean, we talk about players going cheap at the moment.
Yeah.
In a generic sense, nothing specific, and you were effing cheap, to be honest. Got a bargain out of you. Yeah, what happened? What happened with the whole transfer?
Well, I take that as a compliment, because at the time I was having a bad time at QPR. Yeah. I was in my 5th year at QPR, and I'd had some really good times. The club had promised me, we were going to strengthen, and all these different projects that chairmans and directors promise you, and managers. And before you know it, Jerry Francis had left, because Les Ferdinand and Darren Peacock both got sold, which was something that when I signed my contract with the club, they said they were going to keep. They were kind of 2 best players at our club. I think Les went for stupid money, and he was a massive success at Newcastle. And Darren also. Darren Peacock went for a good price, and he did a great job at both Newcastle and Blackburn. So it was the club went back on the word, and then Jerry had enough, Jerry Francis. He left. And then we got new managers in, and it was getting kind of painful. I thought, from my ambition, I was kind of doing what I promised I said I was going to try and do, which was getting the under-21 side. I'd done that. Got in the England sat in the England squad, did that. The scoring was, highly rated in the Premier League, and I just wanted the club to back up what they'd said and bring in good players, to support something that we could do together. And it wasn't happening, and I was ready to go out. I picked up a bad injury, and on the back of me coming out of that, I think Harry Redknapp knew me anyway, because me and Jamie played together in the England under-21 side. We won a tournament in Toulon and ended up going to Jamie's house for his 21st birthday party. Stayed at a hotel, but ended up dragging it out and staying a few extra days and stayed at Harry's. So he knew who I was. I knew who Harry was. So there was already a relationship there. And then obviously getting the call when I was desperate to leave. And I remember actually watching a game. You were playing in the cup, and Samasi Abu was playing, and it was an exciting, dynamic team. You had some young players who looked class, your Rios and stuff, and it just looked like a really good bunch of players. I think Johnny Hartson was playing up front, and I actually watched the game. I thought, I want to go there, but because my confidence was low, I was thinking, how am I going to get in that team? Because they played really well. But I thought, you know what, I've got to take this. I've got to back myself, and I've got to work hard if I can't make myself into that team, and I'll work my way into it, because that's what I've always done with the clubs that I've been to. So I've got myself into the team first game, and it couldn't have gone any better. I got the call. But when I was thinking about West Ham, I'm not ashamed to say this, but there has been a past with West Ham fans where they're notorious, and there's been, I've heard whisperings of, it'd be difficult for a black player to play there.
Sure.
And I couldn't say this any other way. They've been unbelievable with me. From the day I arrived to the day I left, and even now, I just feel I've got a really good rapport with West Ham fans.
Definitely.
I think they get me. I weren't the most talented player, but I feel I was 100% player, and I give my all for the team, and they could see that, and they appreciated that. And I think that is the ethos of West Ham fans. They don't mind if you're not the best player, but if you go out there and give everything for the shirt, they'll be having you all day long. And luckily I had a good team around me, and I was able to achieve a few good things there. And when I look back on my time there, it's probably my happiest time in my career, the 5 years I was there playing for West Ham.
Oh, definitely. I think you don't do yourself a disservice there, Mr. Sinclair, I believe, in terms of saying because obviously that time, as I said, you forced yourself into the England squad as well. I was looking for all your goals, like someone put a montage on YouTube, and you never scored a tap in. At West Ham, it was never a simple little couple of. It was always like coming in the right wing and chucking it. It's like fucking hell. And it was just one part of that time, part of that fantastic time of West Ham, where it was like, you're right, it was like a soap opera. You had the young pretenders, you had the Joes and Rios, you had the older heads, you had the Razor, you had Monks, you had Ozzy Johnson, DiCadio. It must have been an absolute blast in that dressing room. You must have had so much banter.
It was unbelievable. I mean, even my first day, there was two things that I'll remember for the rest of my life, because I was crapping myself, because I've been at QPR 5 years. I've gone from the bottom there where I didn't even get on the bench, to being probably their kind of most valuable player to sell, and then was on the after the injury, struggled, and then I thought, I'm gonna have to do all this again. But I've got so comfortable there that I was nervous just for training. I was probably more nervous for training than I was for the game a few days later. Anyway, for training, we were doing a little ronda, a little circle before we started. And I just remember two fans running across the training pitch at Chadwell Heath and saying, "Sinclair, you're shit." And I was like, I was nervous anyway. And that just, all the lads just looking at me. You got a couple of your fans with you, Trevor. And I was like, oh, no. But what really, I will always remember that. But what really, the biggest thing that stands out that day is, when we were running past the gym, the indoor gym area at Chadwell Heath, and we were running anti-clockwise, so the gym was on our right, and he was pissing it down. And John Moncur come out with a weightlifting belt on, socks and boots, and that's it. And he is an absolute blast. And you know what? He just relaxed me, and I could sense him next to me, because all the lads were pissing themselves laughing. And then when I actually had a little scan of him, and I seen that he was nude, I was just thinking, oh my God, what a lunatics have I joined here. But he settled me, and I had a brilliant time.
He's brilliant.
And it was a really good area to be at the football club.
Yeah, it really, really was. We've had John on before, and he's and bless him, he's still got that twinkle. You know what I mean? He's found God.
He can't drink anymore. He can't. No, he doesn't. When he drinks, he is I'd say he's wilder than me, and that's saying something. He's wild, but he is such a laugh.
But he's still that twinkle. When we're talking, it was almost like this little sort of like twitch, and he just went and told some story. And, he mentioned the story that he came out all naked, and Harry ran after him and went, "John, we've got the Sky cameras in." He went, "Well, get me some fucking kit then." And so, I love him absolutely. But that's what I mean. All characters.
His party trick, Russ, was getting undressed and getting nude. And listen, I'm not punching below the belt here saying he wasn't the most well-endowed boy, but I was at Steve Lomas's birthday party, and all the lads went. We had an unbelievable social life, the boys. We went out and everything together all the time, probably too much, and you wouldn't be able to do it now.
No, not now.
But anyway, we were at Loamy's do. Everyone's steaming. I think for my party trick, I'd done a bit of breakdancing and a few windmills in Loamy's kitchen. And then John Moncur was on stage. He'd moved the band off the stage. There was like a little plinth where it was raised. And he was doing his striptease, and his wife went, "Oh, John, hang it up. You're going to have to hang this one up." Anyway, as he's doing it, he's fell off the stage backwards. And we've all had a bit of a chuckle, because I think he was just pulling his pants down.
Oh, brilliant.
And then as he came back up, he still had his shirt on, but half of it was covered in claret. He'd cut his head when he fell over the back, and it was bleeding everywhere. And oh my God, I just thought, what a group of players have I joined here. But it was like that every week. It was absolutely, it was madness. It was madness. But I think that was reflected on the pitch, because obviously we didn't have the best consistency, but when we was on it, what a great side to play in. Players appreciating each other. Mavericks in there, brilliant young players coming through. It was phenomenal, and I was really, really pleased to be part of that team.
Yeah, I mean, it was the most since obviously in the Premier League era, most successful team we've had. I mean, we finished 5th. That was the best, obviously, European glory.
We might have finished higher if we didn't have such a good social life. Honestly, it was mental. We'd go out on a Tuesday after training. We'd meet at the toll gate round the corner from the training ground. I know. We'd have a couple of hours in there playing pool and darts, and then we'd get cars to pick us up and straight into the West End. It was crazy, and that'd go on, and you'd end up getting home at 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and have the Wednesday off to recover.
But I think that brings you together as a club. You know what I mean? It's that nowadays. I think, and also not just internally, but I think with the relationship with the fans. I think that's why you have such a good relationship with the fans and Monks and people. Even before your time, like Ian Bishop and stuff like that. Because we've had Bishop.
I was a City fan when I was a kid.
Exactly. Yeah.
And when I was in my first holiday away, I was in Magaluf, and I was with a couple of the apprentices from Blackpool.
Yeah.
There was a couple of Mancs there from my old team at Boundary Park Juniors when we used to play in Manchester. And we were out having a booze, as young 17-year-olds do. And we bumped into Bish, and we worshipped him. But he got us under his wing and took us out with him for the day, bought us drinks all day.
Such a guy.
Absolute legend.
Love him.
And then people say to me, what was your first real times when you were massively looking out for City? And it was when Bish was pulling the strings for City, and he was like, I think they beat Man United 5-1, and he was part of that team. And I think I'm not sure if it was at West Ham or QPR, but I just remember it was on the screen. I was watching it, and there's like it was on silent. There's a bit of a team talk going on, and I was just ignoring the manager watching the game. Like, yes, we've got a game here, Trev, and things like that. But Bish is a top man, real top guy.
But I mean,
nice that he's played for both clubs, as I have, Manchester City and West Ham.
And quite a few people have. Obviously, Waldy has, and Trevor Morley, and countless more. David James, a lot of them. But that's the thing. I mean, you just had that. I mean, I just think it's a facet of modern football now. You don't get like Carrick, like you lot. You don't like, no one goes out on the booze. And I think it's uber professional. I get that. But I think that's why you don't have that relationship with players. I mean, you stayed around for 5 years at West Ham. Nowadays, if you get 5 years out of a player, they're a club legend now, and they're lauded. But actually, nowadays, if you get 2 years out of a player or a manager, you've done well. And that's something I miss. I think I miss that sort of. There doesn't seem to be many characters in the game now. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's just the way the game's evolved.
Yeah,
I think there is characters, but you keep it back a little bit because you don't want to come across as someone different. Jack Grealish just having his socks down.
Exactly, yeah. I was about to say that.
And that's nothing, do you know what I mean? If you think that's kind of being outlandish, it's a joke. So players are not encouraged to be themselves and bring any kind of individual personality to to a team sport now, which I think is a big miss.
Yeah.
In my days, it was huge, and it made the game a lot more colourful to watch.
Oh, you're great. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. You're right. And anyone who does stand out now just gets, victimised and, for being cocky. It's like, well, no, it's like, funny, look at the way Di Canio would conduct himself, and he was a legend, and so it is what it is. But it's a shame, and I think it's also the fact because football, so it's uber professional. There's so much money in the game. I mean, obviously, I used to live in Loughton, and so Loughton, a lot of obviously Paolo lived in Loughton, and a lot of players lived in Loughton, and you'd see him walking into Safeways and stuff, and it'd be like, oh my god, Pete Butler. But nowadays they're all in high-rise Canary Wharf apartments and stuff, which is a shame, but it is what it is. Yeah, and obviously, we haven't even touched on European glory as well. The 1999 Intertoto Cup.
Oh yeah, yes.
I mean,
I love that. I love that tournament when we was in it because we got away to a few different places.
Yeah.
There's another story involving Monks when we was there because we had Davo, Suka, and Igor matching the squad. And they took us out on a shooting day. But it weren't like, you go to a big warehouse where it's professional and it's all safe and all this. It was just he took us to a woods and started getting out these ridiculous weapons, AK-47s and this, that. And I don't even know what they were. So we had a shoot of it.
Yeah.
And then Monks being Monks, he got start bollocky naked again. And he ran out into the field, like mossland and grassland and a few trees. And he was about 100 yards away, and like Davo and a few of Davo's mates, who took us out. I'm like, no. Is that it hadn't been cleared for mines. And the blood and the colour of Monks, you could just see it come out of his face. He absolutely shacked himself. And we did, I was like, oh my God. So he almost had to try and follow his step the way he'd come.
Oh, no.
But he was like, he was like Benny Hill. He'd do well to follow that. And I was like, anyway, he got back safely, and the sweat coming off him was ridiculous. But I think that was the morning of the game. You wouldn't even imagine anything like that happening in Croatia if you were playing in the UEFA competition now.
No, exactly.
But I mean, stories galore. But that competition, I really enjoyed it, and
it was brilliant.
In the final against Metz, it was superb to win a bit of silverware with West Ham.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's and people talk about it, but it's like I'm not being funny. It's a European competition. We've won fuck all since since 1980, so I'll take anything. You know what I mean? Monks talks about Suk. He told me a story about Davo. In that Davo was obviously likes to play the market, the old stock market, and he told John about a good tip. And obviously Harry hears it about it as well, obviously, as you would imagine. So they're both hearing about the tip. And it goes absolute tits up. The tip does. And they lose all their money. And then at training the next day, Davo was in. And Monks takes him out, clean out, literally takes him clean out. I think Trev's got a call. He's a very, very busy man. I'll tell everyone else the story in case they have. And Devil takes him absolutely, Monks takes Devil absolutely clean out. And there we go. He's back. He's a busy man, so he's having lots of people calling all the time. He says, there he is. Oh no, he'll be back on. So anyway, so literally Monks takes Davo completely out, 2-footed tackle, and here he is again. He's a popular man. He's getting all his phone calls. That's the trouble with Trev.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
It's all right. Don't be silly.
Back in the room. I've got to press something now, Anna, so you can see me.
Yeah, got to see you.
How do I do that? I'm absolutely useless with technology.
What is it with football players and technology? Because
everyone, I think it's my age.
I just think it's everyone. Honestly, it's everyone. Everyone can't do.
Camera, yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, boy, sort it out.
It's all right. Don't be silly.
It is a weird one. Why do you have to use this platform anyway?
Just because it saves me a lot of time later on.
Right, okay.
On Zoom rather than anything else.
Hard to edit afterwards and stuff?
Yeah, it just takes time, really. It takes a lot of time to edit it afterwards. Where this, it's just done. I record it and it's done, and it is what it is. I mean, we can carry on chatting, Tev. Doesn't matter. Everyone can see you. Everyone knows you're on, so it doesn't matter about that. So, and then obviously we'll just carry on chatting. So obviously after that, you managed to get yourself back into England squad, which was amazing. I mean, that was great from a fan's perspective because it was just like, having a West Ham player in the England squad.
Yeah.
But for you, it must have been absolutely incredible, man.
It was, and it was one of them where I'd been in the squad a couple of times whilst at West Ham, but it was kind of almost like the big clubs were well represented again. And for whatever reason, I just kind of missed the cut initially, and then they brought me into a shadow squad, and we went over to Dubai. I think trained well, and then we was going out to South Korea, and I remember being asked if I'd be one of 2 or 3 that came out there, and I thought, well, of course, I'm not going to turn this opportunity down. But then it ended up being just one, and it was like a 23-man squad and me. So that was quite difficult from a confidence point of view. But again, it's something that you're never going to turn down. So I played a couple of friendly games there, and then it started affecting me. I'd been away for probably 3 weeks. And I said to Adam Crozier, who was the chief executive and surveyor, and I said, listen, do you mind if I go back and train at Chedworth Heath? And if anyone gets injured and you want me back out, I've got on the next flight back. And that's what I did. And literally by the time I got back, Danny Murphy was injured. I had a couple of days at home, little cuddle with the wife, a couple of glasses of Shiraz, and went back out there and felt recharged. And got in the squad, obviously in the 23. Then the squad was announced, and then I was in the squad for the World Cup, which I thought was just going to be a supporting role. I understand when I'm a B-side of a vinyl record, I wasn't going to be one of the mainstays in the team. But the way it worked out, I ended up turning that about and starting 3 games, but playing the majority of 4 games out there. And it was a dream come true playing in the World Cup, something that one of the ambitions as a kid. And to achieve that, it was amazing. Just a shame we couldn't go further than the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I mean, but from a fan perspective, it was just incredible because I don't remember an England player playing at West Ham at the time because everyone else seemed to leave and then play for England, unfortunately. But it was great, and obviously you played left wing there, and obviously West Ham you started up front against Everton. You played right wing, left wing, right wing back. You played all over the bloody place, Trev. But
that was a graveyard shift, the right wing back. I've not got the frame for that position. I was about 12.5 stone, and that was it if I was looking after myself. And to do that, I mean, you've got to be a steeplechaser to do that role.
Yeah.
5'11", real slender physique, so you can get up and down. But I shundered through it and managed to pull off a few performances in that position. But ideally left wing, centre forward. I enjoy playing up front.
Did you? Yeah.
That was probably my favourite position. But I think because I had that string to my bow where I could play right and left, and I'd give my all wherever I played. I was always utilising them positions more often than not.
Oh, definitely, and you have a great accolade of my granddad, God rest his soul. His eyesight was going when he was at West Ham. I don't know how we allowed him to drive, thinking about it in hindsight, because he couldn't see. But basically, anything that was done good by a West Ham player who was black was Trevor Sinclair.
Wow.
Only player on the pitch, that man. Only player on the pitch. It could have been Shaka doing a save, but it was Trevor Sinclair. Bless him. And I always remember so highly of all that stuff. Right, let's get on and talk about your 11. So, as I said, what we do is everyone we get on, bar your former boss, actually, Mr. Redknapp, actually, he didn't pick an 11. But everyone else, and Ian Bishop actually, has picked an 11. So the idea is we pick 11 players. We try and do a 4-4-2 of the players that you played with at West Ham. So obviously 5 years, a good spread. Phenomenal players. So be interesting to get your thoughts on this. And obviously you can say honourable mentions. You might want to pick someone and not piss anyone. And it's only just a giggle. We all know it is. So we'll go through in goal.
Right, in goal, it's a tough one because obviously Ludo was there, but he didn't play much whilst I was at the club. It's got to be between David James and Shaka Hislop. I think for pure ability and performances, it's got to be David James because I remember being at the club and he saved us so many times. Phenomenal keeper. But, a very honourable mention to Shaka, who was an absolutely wonderful man. Beautiful human being, as Brendan Rodgers would say. I loved him to pieces. His family, Desha and all the kids and that. What a marvellous man he is. And yeah, it was a pleasure to play with him. But I think just on performances alone, J-Mo was ridiculous. You know, he was 6'5", whatever he is. Yeah, it was some stature and an incredible goalkeeper as well. But like most keepers, and Xhaka aside, most keepers I played with are barking mad, and J-Mo unbelievably fits that bill because he is an absolute crazy boy, but brilliant goalkeeper.
Oh yeah, fantastic goalkeeper, and you have to be. I think you have to have that slight sort of craziness to be a goalkeeper, don't you? I think, to be honest, when you look at them. But yeah, he's a good man. And
okay,
Xhaka,
going on to right back.
Go on.
It was a tough one because probably a little bit of not jealousy, a little bit envious, because there was a year when I was at West Ham where Sebastian Schmel won Player of the Year. Yeah, and he was top drawer. He had an unbelievable engine. He wasn't the most technical player, but he was a great lad, and he was game as they come. So he's definitely coming into the reckoning. But he did beat me to Player of the Year that season, so I'm not going to make him right back. A bit poisonous in that way. I'm going to have to say Glenn Johnson.
Yeah.
Glenn was... He worked at the club a long time. I think he only played about 15, 18 games for the club. But I remember him coming through as a youngster, and I think he was 16, 17. And this is kind of when I was at my pomp. You know, I was the most powerful. I had experience, and I built my body up working with Paolo in the gym and the other boys. And I remember a ball was about 10 yards, and we both sprinted to it. And we kind of got there together, and I thought, he's only a young pup. Move out the way. And I went to move him, and he moved me. And I thought, and a few lads said, get on the weights, Trev. And I thought, how old's this kid? And like, to have that kind of physicality. And I kind of, you know, because I'm 5'8", my low centre of gravity makes it difficult to push off the ball. But Glenn was able to do that. And straight away, and you know, he was a technical player as well. He was a great athlete up and down, made good decisions on the ball. Straight away, I thought this boy's going to be quite special. And he went on to have a phenomenal career.
Can you spot play when you get like the youngsters come in and do training? Do you, like, from a footballer's perspective, you go, he's going to be good, he's not going to make it, he's going to make it?
It's not as easy as that, Russ. I think you have an initial kind of, you rate them ability wise.
Yeah.
But it's not until you get to know the personality, the work ethic, how seriously they take the game, how professionally prepared they are, and then you realise the ones that are going to go on and do well, and the ones that might be flashing the pans and might have a decent youth career, but then because they've not got certain things in place, they might struggle to kick on into the professional game. But I think the ones that are going to, stick in there, they're going to continue to work really hard, and they'll probably achieve their potential, whichever that may be. But whether it's going to be, just from a little bit of ability or watching them through a game, you can say they've got ability, but you have to see them for a period of time to know whether they've got a chance of making a career in the game.
Okay.
But yeah, so right back, Glenn Johnson.
Yep.
Who's also a work colleague of mine, or he was. I don't know if he's still at Talk Sports, but he was. But yeah, I have to give a mention to Shamel, who played against us in that Mets Cup final. By the way, I think that's when he was scouted. So yeah, and then centre half, quite tough. I've got to say. I mean, listen, I've got to put Rio in there.
Yeah.
It was, I was at the club as he made his breakthrough, and loved him as a player, loved him as a lad. And he achieved everything I expected him to. He was very, very wealthy when it comes to his skill set and his tools that he had. He was quick, he was tall, he was strong, he was confident, he was technically very good, and he had a lot of self-belief. And when he was on his game, even in training, you'd find it very difficult to get the better of him. And I always thought that he'd go on and do really well. I remember actually I scored a goal against Chelsea. I think I didn't lobbed the keeper as he came out, and I ran into the corner, and the fact that there was limbs everywhere, the fans were going mad, and I was I'm one of them. If I score, if anyone else scores, I'm all over him anyway. But if I score, because I think I was quite an unselfish player. I weren't bothered about me getting all the headlines. I just wanted us to be successful as a group. But I scored this goal when I was playing up front. I think I scored 7 in 14 when I first arrived.
You did.
Playing as a centre forward. So Al Berkovic put me through as he usually did. Dinked the keeper, ran off into the corner, and as I ran off into the corner, the lads swarmed all over me. And I remember Rio saying to me, "Oh my God, you're too good for us." And like, you know, to come, he was only a baby.
Yeah.
He would have been, 18 or something. And for a player like that to say, like, my God, what, you know, you are too good.
Yeah.
That was a really nice compliment. And it was, you know, it wasn't anything that was, you know, thought of before, and then he just come out, like, oh, he's just going to come out of it. It was just a moment.
Natural. Yeah.
At the moment, it was like, wow, Trev. So
Well,
yeah,
I saw. I was about to say, I saw one of him. I saw watching one of the celebrations. I think it might have even been that game or one of them, one of the goals you scored. And he looked like he jumped over everyone. There's a celebration, and Rio literally looks like he's jumped over everyone. I can't remember what the goal is. Someone's good.
That game, he must have backed us to win. Out of it.
All right, Rio's in.
You can't bet on games now.
No.
So yeah, I think, and the other one, and he's literally polar opposite of Rio. My other centre half would be Thomas Repka. Athlete, incredible athlete. One of the bravest players I've played with.
Really?
You know, he put himself in front of a car. It meant us avoiding conceding, and an absolute diamond as a man. You know, he didn't speak unbelievably brilliant English, but he was a team player. And you know, if you hear the saying, "Oh, you'd have him in the trenches with you," you would have Thomas Repka in the trenches with you. Because he's that kind of character, and I think he would give a great service to West Ham, and someone that I actually, really like as a person. Quite a genuine man, and he'd have to go in there, and I think they'd complement each other in the back four there. Rio could be the silky one, pick up and like sweep a little bit, and he could just go in and head everything, a little bit like his relationship that he had at Manchester United.
Yes.
He'd be my other centre half, but I have to give mentions to Ian Pearce.
Oh,
He's absolute diamond, lovely gentleman again. Razor, he was my best mate at the club, which Harry had to split us up because he wasn't good for me. Taking me out, painting the tiles red as usual. So I've got to give a shout to Razor because he was different class on the day. And Christian Daly, Christian, he could play right back as well. But when you talk about phenomenal athletes, Christian was right up there. Again, one of them players that would give everything for the cause. And it was probably a toss up between him and Thomas Repka, who got in there, and I think Thomas has just edged it for me. But Christian, great lad, and really good friend as well. When I speak to him, bump into him now, he's a top man.
Good man. All right, Thomas.
Going into left back.
Yes.
Yeah, left back's quite tough. I'm gonna say Dixie, because probably most people do. But the reason I'm saying Dixie is not really Dixie when I played with him, because he wasn't that good when he came back. Let's be honest. He weren't that good. Even to get on the pitch, he'd done well because his knee was in tatters. Yeah. But it was when I played against West Ham for QPR that he's got into this side, because he was a nightmare. He was aggressive, he was challenging.
Especially for you,
when I was playing on the right for QPR. He kind of, he had good experience. He was a bit older than me, so he was really a fantastic footballer when he was at West Ham before he went to Liverpool and picked up that injury. But not only that, he'd work so hard going the other way. More often than not, he'd get the winner, from a free kick or penalty, and he'd affect the game in the final third for West Ham against me, which not many fullbacks did at the time. People say he was the most difficult fullback you played against. I think it was Cole there, Ashley Cole, and I'm kind of struggling after that. Like I always thought, like if I was on my game, I would get the better of most fullbacks. But I think Julian was one of them players who caught me when I was quite young and was able to get the better of me. So I'd have to say Dixie. But I've got to give a shout out to Potsy as well, because Potsy played there for quite a while when I was at the club. And talk about the ultimate professional. That was Potsy, 7 out of 10, week in, week out. Always there on time for training, so reliable, and a real good team player. So I definitely have to give him a mention as well. So there's my back four keeper. I'm not in this side, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not in this side, so I'll be assistant manager or something, or a mascot. On the right hand, so I think my midfield's very strong, and it goes with the time the era I was playing at the club. On the right, I'm going to put Joe Cole.
Yep.
The Maverick. Seen him come through as a kid. Took his first Premier League goal off him because it hit my oversized backside, or if you listen to Harry Redknapp, my oversized backside on its way for a 25-yard shot. claim that goal, but then give him it on the plate for his first league goal when I pulled it back. I think it was against Bradford where I pulled it back and said, you got a cherry on top of that. But, talk about players with no edge, he's such a lovely lad. Talented, no ego, works his socks off, wants to learn, wants to improve. And it wasn't a surprise that he had the career that he did. I mean, potentially he could have done even more. But, when you're talking about the titles that he won and how iconic he was in that period for Chelsea especially, but coming through for West Ham, there was no hesitation in my mind that he was going to have a really bright future. And, just one of them players who don't want anything off anyone. He's prepared to work through himself to get what he needs. And he did that superbly well. So I put him on the right. He's benched me, hasn't he?
Yes.
And then centre-halves. I've kind of tried to go for a balanced team. So centre midfielders are going to be Mark Vivienfo.
Oh, God bless him.
Yeah, God bless him. Gentlest giant I've ever been in a changing room with. Absolutely phenomenal athlete. Technically superb, which is usual coming from the French teams, and then just a really gifted person, really giving, selfless person, work his socks off, not looking for any stardom, just wanted to get on with his job and do it to the best of his ability. So he was brilliant in there, and so combative. So he'd win a lot of individual duels. He'll take control of that centre of the park, and then in there with him to complement him, Michael Carrick. So Michael did everything in the game. I think he was unfortunate not to be more successful for the national side.
Yes.
Domestically did everything. I almost took him out the side for playing for Spurs. But I'll keep him in there just because he's a lovely lad. He's a Geordie lad. If you've met him, you won't think he's got £2 to rub together, and he's just a really good person to be around. And as a footballer, technically wise, I think he was underappreciated for probably 3/4 of his career. But a stunning player and someone who I'd always have in a team because he knows how to look after the ball. He's got great vision, and he's a real team player again. So he'd be in there. On the left-hand side, probably not a team player, but an absolute unbelievable player. I've got Ayo Berkovic.
Oh yes.
Ayo, I played with him. For my first games at West Ham, and he stayed for a while. He was just phenomenally talented. If we had an 8-a-side game, if Ayo was on his game, he could have the 7 worst players, and him and his team would win. Really? That's how influential he was. He was about 9 stone wet through. His change of movement was ridiculous. He played ahead of a little bit like Scholesy. People say about Scholesy, played for the future. I was exactly the same. His weight of passing and the ability to pick out forward movement, which I did quite a lot, and me and him really did link up really well. He's a funny man. People might not know that about Ayo, but we played a game in Denmark pre-season. I think this was for Man City, so I played in City as well. But we played a game pre-season and in Denmark, and there was a Jewish wedding at the hotel we were staying at, and I was a big name in Israel. Anyway, they were all over him, and they said, "Oh, please come." And me and I were rooming together, so we sneaked up into this bar. We were not supposed to be drinking, but we had a couple of shippers, and Isle ended up getting on stage, and he was unbelievable. He was on there for about 15 minutes, and he was speaking Hebrew or whatever it was. I didn't understand it, but looking at the reaction of the 300 people that were in there, he was a funny guy, but he was funny with us anyway. And I got a lot of time for Isle, and I'd love to know what he's doing at the moment because I've not heard from him for a while. So but Isle Berkovic, super talented, and he'd take there. Obviously, big emissions from there. Frank Lampard, he was superb while I was at the club. Yeah, obviously not got the best rapport with the fans, but he was phenomenal.
He was.
Really good young player. He just wasn't there long enough while I was there. John Moncur has to get a mention because, I watched the Bradford game recently and he surprised me how good he was. And Steve Potts, captain of the club. Again, one of them players you want in there when it gets a little bit lively in there on the pitch. You want him with you because he'll throw himself into anything. So they're a few lads that I've not picked, but they could quite easily have got in.
Easily.
And then going to my forward line, which I think it's probably the most difficult thing for me because there's so many players. I'll name the players that are not in the squad.
Okay.
So Paolo one shot.
Yeah.
Ridiculous, like
He was
unorthodox but effective, clever, knew how to, manipulate situations to get himself into goal scoring positions. Sure. Paul Kitson, underrated. I remember the hat trick against Charlton. He was Tommy technique. I've never seen anyone execute volleys like him coming from the left. He used to let it run across his body, and it was ridiculous. I couldn't do it. I was always decent coming in from the right, but coming from the left, it was it was completely different, and he had that in the bag. But a great lad as well. And people look at Kits and say, well, he's 5'11", he's quite sharp. He was the strongest man you've ever. Wow. When he took his top off, he just looked like Action Man. He was a joke. Wow. He had a lot of pride about the way he looked and how strong he was. And he was a great person to be able to use as a focal point. If it went into his feet with any quality, he would never lose it.
Sure.
He was so good. And also, God, there's loads of players that I've missed out. So Freddie Canute, incredible player. Did better at Tottenham, but even for us, I thought he did well. Jermaine Defoe, obviously come through the ranks. Big side. He gets a few negative points for putting in the transfer request when we got relegated on the same day. So that might have something to do with it. And then Reiter, obviously better days were behind him, but he's still in training, his enthusiasm. He was infectious. He's still infectious now. He's a great personality to watch in the media and the TV. And to train with every day, it was an absolute joy because he brought so much enthusiasm. Any kid coming into the game, feeling a bit tired, and then seeing him as a 36, 37-year-old coming in and absolutely owning it and running around like he was 16, that just it kind of forces you to get a smile on your face and enjoy your game.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that come from him, and a little bit like Ray Wilkins, which is nothing to do with this chat, but same kind of thing. I played with Ray towards the end of his career, and he's exactly the same. Sure. And I think if you're an older player, you've got that responsibility to go in, show that
definitely,
and be a good role model. But the two that I've got in, obviously Paolo, absolute menace, like really good friend of mine now. Probably one of the best relationships I've had on the pitch, as in just understanding between us. Really successful time together, and just love playing with him. His charisma. He had a strop now and again, which everyone will tell you, but he brought so much to match day that you just swallow it. You have to take it because what he brought on match day. I remember the Arsenal game when we won 2-1. He won the game for us. We were crap, and he turned Martin Keown inside out, twisted his blood, and dug him a grave all at the same time. And his finishing was phenomenal. And just one of the best players I've played with. So he has to get in there,
of course. Yeah,
and might be a bit of a surprise, but Johnny Hartson, it would be his partner. And I didn't have that long with John, but John, if John was on his game, possibly as close to Les Ferdinand at being impossible to defend against. I remember telling him before one game, we were playing against Blackburn, and I played up front for QPR a few years earlier, and Colin Hendry had left a bit on me. He was writing his pomp, 6'2", whatever he was, and he kind of bullied me a little bit. I was a young centre forward playing in a quite weak QPR team, and he broke my finger on the same day, and it kind of affected me a little bit. And when we were coming up to it against him this time, John was our centre forward, and I said to John before the game, get into him. He bullied me a few years back on the pitch. I think John had scored 2 in the first 20 minutes, unbelievable leaps, headers, and I think Colin came off after about 40 minutes. He'd absolutely bullied him, and I felt a bit sorry for him because I'm not really like that. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything, but John was phenomenal. And as a teammate, he could run, he was good with his feet, he scored all different kinds of goals. But if you put it into that second 6-yard box, there's only one winner. And I'm a bit sad that I didn't play with John for longer because, I've seen him coming through from Luton to Arsenal, and he went on to have a superb time at Celtic as well. And it was an absolute joy to play with John. And it's nice to have that yin and yang, with Paolo and him up there.
Definitely.
I would love to have been a part of that.
Feeding
them to and assisting them to, and that's my team. That's my team.
You didn't pick yourself, Trev. So unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to do that. So that's the trouble. Right. But oh well. What a shame.
That's my team. That's my team.
Cheers, man. Honestly, it's been an absolute dream, Trev, to interview you. It really has been, and thank you so much for your time. and everyone watching or listening on YouTube would appreciate that. So thank you so much, Trevor. We, as I said, you're one of the as you said, one of the guys who still interacts really well with the West Ham fans on Twitter, and everyone respects that from a fan's perspective. It's the new, no one, particularly now, you can't do selfies or autographs. So a tweet and a follow is just the same nowadays. It's brilliant. So thank you, Trev, so much.
Enjoyed reminiscing, mate. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. And obviously, thank you to everyone for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and for me and Trev, take care, everyone. Stay safe. We'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.